I want to welcome everybody for joining us today for this important and fascinating presentation. My name is Kelly Corey. I am the current chair of the board of the National Council of Investigation and Security Services, also the chair of our Professional Development Committee. And so this presentation is brought to you as a benefit of NCISS to not only our members, but we have opened this up to the greater investigative community as a benefit, because it benefits us all. This is a very important topic. So first, some housekeeping. I want to remind everyone to please stay on mute. This is set up as a meeting, not a webinar, but you would be able to put your questions in the chat box, and we will answer those throughout, and there'll be some time at the end. Also, you can set your view to speaker view so that you don't see all the 100 little boxes of Hollywood squares, and you can just have a less distracting view of the slides that we'll be presenting. So without further ado, there are a couple top names in our profession that you need to know, and our speaker today is definitely one of them. It's an honor and privilege to have Jimmie Mesis as our guest speaker today on this very important topic. I want to go into a little bit first about what NCISS is. So we're hosting this event today, and NCISS, if you haven't heard of us, we're the National Association for Investigators and Security Professionals. And we represent the voice of the industry with the United States, and we advocate for legislation that helps us be able to do our jobs. We are at the forefront in Washington, D.C. to help ensure that laws aren't accidentally preventing us from being able to have access to data and resources that we use to help protect society and with the equitable access to the court systems. For members, NCISS provides a variety of benefits, not only these continuing education opportunities, but a robust network of professionals that you can tap into and connect with for jobs across the country. These professional development opportunities, as well as access to exclusive discounts, corporate partnerships, and other industry experts, creating these opportunities for collaboration, referrals, and support. By uniting professionals from diverse disciplines across the US, NCISS empowers members to stay informed and remain competitive and thrive in an ever-changing landscape. So back to Jimmie Mesis. I've known Jimmie for over 13 years, and I cannot say enough good things about him. Jimmie's recognized as one of America's most successful private investigators. He's been licensed for over 40 years and has trained more than 15,000 professional investigators in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and beyond. Jimmie has also served as the NCISS legislative chairman for 5 years. He's always been heavily supportive in NCISS, and we appreciate that. He's best known for his PI marketing, consulting, and coaching. He was the previous owner of PI Magazine, PI Gear, and PI Directory. He's also the founder and director of usbugsweeps.com, and is the largest TSCM electronic detection company in the United States. Jimmie started his career as a private investigator in New York City after serving as a trilinguist with the United States Marine Corps S2 Intelligence Unit. Jimmie has been court recognized as an expert witness in the area of private investigations, covert surveillance, and technical surveillance countermeasure detection. Jimmie's career as a professional investigator has resulted in numerous awards and national media appearances, including CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox News, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the Associated Press, and so many radio interviews and podcasts. He's often a featured speaker internationally at various conferences and seminars, and provides mentoring programs to private consulting. So thank you, Jimmie, so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Kelly. That was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I just want to say that this is only a 1-hour presentation, but this is such a deep and full topic. If you want to learn more deeply, I encourage you to reach out to Jimmie directly after this presentation. Go ahead and put your Q&As in the chat box and we'll begin.
All righty. So I want to just share my screen if I can, and we'll get started with today's presentation. All right, are you able to see my screen?
You got it.
All right, just bear with me 1 second because I got to get situated on my side. I run multiple screens, so trying to get the right screen in the right place is always a trip.
Great. So we have a lot of people already chiming in on the chat. Everybody's excited to be here and welcoming you, Jimmie.
All right. If you guys could just bear with me for a second, you should be able to see the full screen, right?
That is correct.
All right. We did a little switch on the cameras here, and now the camera's in the wrong place.
Oh,
All right, so just bear with me 1 moment. All right, we're good to go?
we're good to go.
All righty. So let me start off by saying that a lot of the slides that I'm presenting here today were actually provided by the FBI. I've been working with the counterterrorism unit, and I've been associated with the FBI for multiple decades. They reached out to me over a year ago telling me that they had a problem with PIs, and they thought that I would be able to help in getting the word out. And I've tried doing that through state associations as best as I can. Um, Back in 23, the FBI with the National Counterintelligence Security Center, they actually were able to confirm that foreign intelligence agencies were contacting private investigators posing as regular people, trying to get access into the databases that PIs have access to. Now, when we talk about foreign intelligence entities, let's talk about spy agencies, because that's basically what we're talking about. The FBI confirmed that what the foreign intelligence agencies were doing were trying to access anyone who had access to a database, private investigators, law enforcement, people in Homeland Security, people that worked in government, any place that they had data. And their method of doing this was just posing as normal people, which was kind of ingenious when you think about it. Remember this, these foreign intelligence agencies are very smart. They're trained in manipulation. They're trained in many different areas. So as a PI, just don't think that you're going to outsmart some of these people, because you're not going to. I'm going to give you case study number one, which is the most recent activity. Here's a private investigator, former PI, cop from New York, ends up living in New Jersey, gets hired by an individual, uh, posing as someone that the target owed them money and wanted to have the PI find this person. Well, lo and behold, the PI ended up not realizing, supposedly according to court records initially, that he was working for the Chinese government. He was given $19,000 as a fee for his services. And it's very questionable as to what Michael did and what he didn't do. You know, I wasn't in the court proceedings. I haven't read everything. But the bottom line was, back in 23, he was convicted. He was convicted as acting as an illegal agent for China. And last week, on the 16th, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison with an $11,000 fine. Now, what's important to understand here is Michael to this day claims that he had no knowledge that he was working for a Chinese government. And maybe that's true. What ended up, I think, hurting him a little bit is that the money that he got, he didn't put into a business account. He put it in his son's bank account, leading to someone to think, well, why would you do that? That's up to you and everybody else to think about. But he's going to prison for 18 months. Next one, we're talking about Michael McKeever, another New York-based PI, gets hired by an individual out of Dubai, supposedly, to find a woman by the name Masa Al-Had. Now, she's an Iranian American journalist, and you've seen her on all the different TV stations, Fox, CNN. The FBI intervened on this, and they intervened because there was an immediate threat that they were just about to kidnap her. And the PI did not get charged, but it serves as a cautionary tale that you have to be careful who you're doing work for, because these people are lying, claiming that they are somebody who they're not. Now, what's interesting about this case, when the McKeever decided that he wasn't going to be in a position to help her, the Iranians ended up going to Canada and tried soliciting the Canadian PIs to find the same woman using databases. And this was the gentleman that they're actively still looking for. Case study number 3. Here's a gentleman retired from the Department of Homeland Security. He's actually working for Elon Musk at one of his SpaceX facility. And he accessed some government databases to get information. And he was utilizing also some of his friends that had access to the databases. Now, what's interesting about Derek is he got charged back in 22 for obstruction, making false claims to the FBI, and his sentence is still pending. So he has not yet been convicted, which I guess there's deals going on behind the scenes. Now, I was able to get access and interview James Dennehy, who at the time was the FBI SAC, the special agent in charge. And I thought this quote that he gave me was pretty interesting, where he says, "We're not going to target PIs, but they are certainly concerned with PIs because they know that the Foreign Intelligence Agency spies are contacting PIs to try to get information." A lot of the ruses that they use are, my cousin came to this country from China 2 years ago. Now I'm here. Can you help me find him or find a relative? And that's one of the pretexts that they use. Now, these PIs are actually being charged with violation of FARA, and that's the Foreign Agents Registration Act. I would recommend that you do a Google search on FARA. It's a lot more detailed than what I have here. But bottom
Jimmy,
line
are the
is,
slides supposed to be advancing?
yeah, they are.
Okay, we're still on the first one, the FBI.
All right. Well, bear with me 1 second and I'll figure out why they're not. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, or I would have been kept on going.
No worries. We were all just engaged in the stories and I don't need it. I don't know if it needed a visual, but
Well, I have visuals for them, so let me do this because I'm dealing with multiple screens here. Okay. All
there we
right.
go.
This was Michael. And basically, the slide just shows everything that I said. Here's a slide for Michael McKeever. And then this is the woman that he was contracted to find. And she's on the different talk shows quite often. This is the gentleman, the spy, Iranian, who was contracting the PIs in the US and Canada to try to find Misha. And here's Derek. And this is the special agent in charge that I had mentioned to you earlier. Now, go back here. I apologize for the confusion with the slides. I'll work on that. So FARA means that you basically have to register as a foreign agent when you're doing work for an outside country. And anyone who does work for an outside country is supposed to register for under FARA. And the violations for FARA are interesting. It depends on, quite honestly, it depends on what activity you actually did and how in depth you were, and were you actually engaging with the foreign entity, foreign intelligence agency. By the way, they don't use the word spies, they use foreign intelligence entity. The penalties can range. They range up to 5 years. And there are other laws tied into FARA. Again, please do a Google search on FARA because this is what all the PIs got charged with. Now, I mentioned 3 case studies, but unfortunately, there were actually 5 PIs that were arrested. Some of the other 2 were working for government agencies, and when they left, they ended up getting their PI license. And the foreign intelligence agencies knew who they had worked for, knew who they had contacts with, and that's why they were contacting them. Now, when we talk about foreign intelligence agencies, I'm based in New Jersey. And what's interesting about New Jersey is we have a lot of spies in New Jersey. Bottom line, that's what we're dealing with. We have a lot of Chinese, we have a lot of Iranians, we have a lot of Russians, we have Saudis, and a group that you would never think of, Rwandans. That's another group of spies operating not just in Jersey, but this is nationwide and Canada. The way that the spies operate, we don't know how they get into the country. A lot of people have claimed that they've come in through the northern and southern border. It's been pretty lax this past several years. They took advantage of the border being somewhat open, and they're in our country. And there are a lot of them. There was over 50,000 Chinese nationals that made it through the southern border. They were all fairly young, early 20s. And there's no doubt that some of them might have been foreign intelligence agents. Again, the ruse that they're going to be using is going to sound legitimate. But the problem is that if you question them even more, you'll find out that something doesn't sound right. Previously, it was very overt. They try to hide everything that they were doing. Now, they're contacting the PI agencies because they have determined that we're the easiest group of people to get information from. And a lot of PIs, unfortunately, are so desperate for income that they will accept money, especially when they're being offered thousands of dollars to get information. What do they want you to do? Most of the PIs that are getting hired, number one, they want access to databases. Number two, they want you to do surveillance. The surveillance is number one, to confirm residence of the target, also to develop a lifestyle pattern, what their schedule is. And the ultimate goal for the foreign intelligence agent is to grab the target. They want them to either voluntarily, supposedly, right, go back to their homeland because they're dissidents, or they want to be harassed, or they want the foreign intelligence agency to actually eliminate the individual who's the target. So there is danger in doing this type of work. And the target person who you're going to be looking for is going to get harmed one way or another. Now, the client, one of the tip-offs is that the client will either communicate with you via email or telephone. Unfortunately, by telephone, usually they have a very heavy accent because they are foreign. Some of them, the accent is quite Americanized, but they don't want you to see them. They don't want you to be able to later on testify who it was that you were actually talking to. So when you have a client that really doesn't want to meet you, he wants to do everything online, that should be a red flag. If the person starts mentioning that the subject is from China, Iran, Russia, India, Rwanda, those are just the top 5. We're talking about foreign intelligence agencies from over 100 countries that are operating in the United States. What are they interested in? They're interested in people that have access to databases, especially in the areas of technology and science. The Chinese especially like stealing intellectual property, and anytime that they can cultivate someone to access information for them for money, they're going to work on that. Journalists, have been a problem and a target because they don't want dissident journalists to be spreading propaganda about the country that they're from. Uh, Again, we have the Chinese operating a police station in New York City. We have the Russians that are committing spy espionage acts in the United States. Some are low key, and then some get exposed. Now, what can you actually do? I hate using the word racial profiling, but if you're dealing with people that are from the 5 main countries that I talk to, should be a little red flag. Number two, Google their name, the client's name. See if there's any information on that person. Are they real? Is that a real name? A lot of them use American names and they're just made up names. The third thing you should do is definitely Google the name of the person who's the target. And the reason for that is that normally the target is going to be someone who was, for lack of a better word, a big shot in the country that they were in. They were dissidents. They were journalists. They were the ones speaking out against their homeland country. And there will probably be a lot of information on these individuals. In fact, if the PIs, some of them who got arrested, had done a Google search on the names of the target, a red flag should have come up that they would have seen some of these negative articles about them. I apologize for keep turning because of the screens. The other thing you got to worry about is how are you getting paid? And some of these people were getting paid directly from Chinese government or a Chinese bank. That should have been a red flag. That should be a red flag for you. So money, how you get paid is also important. They might want to pay cash, something in a form of untraceables, Bitcoin. So be aware of those red flags. Now, when in doubt, and this is a gray area here, I questioned the FBI extensively on this. If I suspect that my client is a potential foreign intelligence agent, what am I supposed to do? So the FBI, what they'd like you to do is contact them, contact your local FBI office. You can ask to speak to a counterterrorism unit agent, or just leave a message with the person who is answering the phones, who is an agent, and just let them know, hey, I'm a private investigator, which is automatically going to be a red flag for them. They're looking out for this. And you tell them, I have a client or a potential client who wants me to find somebody. This is the name of the person that they want me to look for. As of right now, I have no reason not to continue with the case, but I'm just letting you know that I have a client. This is their name. This is the person they want me to look for, and I will be proceeding unless I hear otherwise from you. That's what they're hoping you're going to do. Now, you have to determine whether or not it's worth it for you to want to do that, whether or not you feel you're violating clients' privacy. Well, let me tell you what happens if they are an agent and you didn't call the FBI. You're going to get arrested. So what would you rather deal with? The FBI knocking on your door? Or would you rather have a client who you have no idea who he is, he or she, no connections with them, and the possibility could be a foreign intelligence agent? You do not want to get charged with a violation of FARA. It's a federal charge and you're going to go to prison. Again, call your local office. They'll ask you some questions. Normally what will happen, I was told that the person who answered the call will immediately direct the information to the counterterrorism unit, counterintelligence unit. And if they see any red flags, any names that they know or recognize, someone will be calling you and take it from there. If they don't call you, keep working the case, take the money, and just be careful again. Where did the money come from? And leave it at that. I want to leave now time for questions and answers. I try to really go over smoothly and very simple way what's going on, but I just want you to know that this is happening every day. They are looking for PIs that are willing to get information for them. And once they find a PI that's vulnerable or gullible, they're going to keep using that PI. The first case you get from them may be legitimate, might not have anything to do with a dissident. They start developing the relationship with you. The second or the third case you get from them could end up being the one that somebody could end up getting hurt. Kelly, how's that?
Oh, that's wonderful, Jimmie. Thank you so much. We have a lot of uh, items popping up on the chat, but before we get to that, I wanted to say that our office here at my firm had one of those calls, and we were lucky that it was pretty obvious, but they may not always be that obvious. We had a lady call, I think it was last year, and she had a very unusual name. It was almost like a nickname, but she said that she was an attorney. And when I was trying to write down her name, she said, "Oh, well, it's actually this Chinese name, blah, blah, blah." And she was claiming to be an attorney and wanted to find out how she could get social security numbers. And I thought, well, that's kind of a weird red flag. Why would an attorney be wanting that? So, of course, try and get to the conversation of what it is she actually needs. And in that conversation asking, well, where are you an attorney? She's like, well, kind of everywhere. Okay. So she has a nickname that's an Americanized nickname of a Chinese name. She claimed to be an attorney of everywhere and didn't say a specific firm or location. She was trying to get social security numbers. And when I tried to deflect with like, what is it you're trying to learn? Then we started talking about doing court research. And she said, oh, okay, well, can you research criminal records? Well, yeah, we can do that. So that is something that we can do, but what do you need that for? And she then went right back to saying, well, if you find a criminal record, can you go through it and find social security numbers? Like right back to the social security number thing. So I politely, just declined. We weren't going to be able to help her. So that was just a very eye-opening experience, but luckily it was very obvious that this was not something we needed to be dealing with. But I can imagine that there are ones that are a lot better at masking their deception and be easier to fall for.
Yeah. Any other questions?
We have a lot, actually. So on that topic, you mentioned recently about the calling your local FBI branch to report these. Somebody said that a couple people said they've tried and just kind of hit a brick wall and weren't very successful. Is there something that they should say differently or approach differently so that they can get that information over to them?
When I talked to the SAC and the different agents that I work with, they all said just call the local number, say that you're a private investigator. That's the key word that they're looking for. Tell them that you have a suspicious client that you feel might be a foreign intelligence agency or agent of a foreign intelligence agency. Give them whatever names you have, then log your date and time of call, where you called, and that's all you have to do. That's the most important thing because that's what covers your butt. If they don't act on it, that's their problem. They're not going to call you back on every single phone call, but they did tell me that if they find a red flag, they will be contacting you because there's two things they might do. They might tell you to proceed and you're going to work with the FBI, or they're going to tell you to cease and desist immediately. So one way or another, you have the three options. They're either going to not call you back, or they're going to call you back, work with you, or call you back and just tell you to stop.
Kelly, this is Dennis Eberly. I can add some additional information to my comment if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah, I was at the New Jersey's Association's briefing on this last year up there in New Jersey, where a couple of the FBI agents came in and presented this. And I specifically had a case thought might have a China connection. So I tried specifically calling the one agent that I had the contact information from that meeting about, and found out that he apparently was transferred somewhere else to another field office or something.
Right.
And I couldn't get in touch with anybody there that could help me out. I told him I was a PI and all that. So then I next tried calling the Wilmington field office in Delaware, and person answered the phone and acted like I was nuts and didn't know what I was talking about. So didn't know who to connect me with. So I basically got stonewalled on trying to make any kind of inquiries about this particular investigation.
Let me make a recommendation that if you guys have a situation and you call the FBI and you don't feel that you've gotten the satisfaction you were looking for, give me a call. I have direct line to the right people in the right places, and I'll definitely get feedback from them because I'm meeting with them on a regular basis. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. If you want to put your contact information back up there, I'll hit a couple more of these questions for you.
All right, go ahead.
How would you suggest subcontractors deal with this? For example, they vet clients that often use subcontractors to conduct surveillance. So do subcontractors just have to trust that we are appropriately vetting?
Yeah, it's a good question. Bottom line, it's your butt that's going to get charged. So if you think that there's something wrong, I would definitely contact the agency that hired you and tell them that if they don't contact the FBI and give them warning, that you will. Because again, you don't know what's going to happen down the road. I don't want to get arrested. And they're going to bring me in because I was the one working in the field doing it.
Very good point. Have you seen this type of thing happen where the client is actually a Mexican drug cartel?
No, not that I'm aware
Did any of the arrested PIs perform any due diligence?
of. Not that I'm aware of.
A couple other people saying that they hit a brick wall when trying to report it. Let's see.
Remember that reporting it is just covering your butt. What they do after that, don't worry about it. Let them worry about it. The most important thing is that you made the call to protect yourself. After that, don't worry about it.
Assuming only surveillance is requested, not database access, and assuming there is no obvious red flags when taking on the client, what sort of behavior crosses the line from regular surveillance to acting and assisting a foreign agent?
In a couple of the cases, especially the one with the PI out of Jersey, he was allegedly harassing or involved in surveillance and harassment of the target. If you're just doing surveillance, again, I think that goes back to how did you get paid? That's really helpful in determining who's actually hiring you, who's the client. I don't expect you to do a background check on your client, but a simple Google search is worth it. That's what I would do.
Okay, great, thank you. Here's another interesting question. Would you suggest a solid written service contract agreement with photo ID when dealing with potential clients indirectly?
One of my favorite sayings to PIs when I teach marketing is your business, your terms, and cover your butt wherever you can. A good in-depth retainer agreement is good. I don't know how many clients are going to want to give you a copy of their driver's license to a PI. You can ask. If they turn you down, so be it. But for the most part, when you meet with the client, grab their plate number, grab as much as you can as far as identification. If they give you a credit card for payment, then you might say, definitely, I need your credit card to match the name on your driver's license to the credit card.
That's a smart tip. Okay, we have another question here. It says, Jimmy, as you mentioned, the person or persons who calls wants to remain confidential. So how is a contract even signed if they want to remain confidential and they're very demanding?
They don't want to sign a contract. They don't want to meet with you. Is that what you're saying?
I guess so.
Well, then it's up to you whether or not you want to take the case. A lot of PIs right now, and I'm going to be blunt with you, they're desperate for work. They're not getting enough work, and they'll take anything that they can get. And if a foreign intelligence agency is going to throw cash your way, a lot of PIs are going to get sucked into that, and they're going to take the case because they want the money. And usually, because they have unlimited funds, the foreign intelligence agent is going to offer you more than you would the average person would offer you for info, maybe $1,000, $2,000 to find somebody. Those could be little red flags. It's up to you whether or not you take the case or not.
A lot of good comments and conversation going on here. Vicky says she background checks her clients. Other people have agreed they do the same. Someone has asked for their driver's license for years. So that's been happening. That's good.
Good.
Too much money, that would be a red flag, someone said. Okay, here's a question. Suppose a PI retains a client, suspects the client is nefarious and reports them. This seems to be big risk if the client is not actually found nefarious by the FBI. Perhaps PI license would be revoked for divulging information without the client's permission in order of the court. Seems pretty important to properly access prior to retain status.
Well, that was where that gray area comes in. When do you report? When don't you report? If you don't report, what's going to happen to you? You might get arrested. If you do report and the client is legit and he's not a foreign intelligence agency, could he come after you civilly? Yeah, possibly. But that client could come after you civilly for anything else that you do or didn't do. You're going to have to make that decision. But guess what? I'd rather make the decision on the side of caution that I don't get arrested by a federal agent.
Yeah, makes sense. And then if there's any more questions, go ahead and add those in the chat now as we go to wrap up. We do have one question about if you are available to do this presentation for other state PI groups. We are recording this. This presentation is being recorded and will certainly be available for NCISS members. We have discussions about how to make that available to everyone who has attended here. So we will be working out the details on that. I'll leave it to Jimmie on if you're going to do other presentations elsewhere. That's.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing other presentations if asked by state associations. I did have a problem with the slides presenting here today. I apologize for that. I definitely will make sure that doesn't happen again in the future. I see a lot of people on the screen and faces that I recognize that I haven't seen in a while. If any of you have any questions, please, raise your hand and ask. I'll be more than happy to help you out.
We do have another question that popped up here. How dangerous are these foreign intelligence agencies? You have no choice but to call in if the risk of them physically retaliating against you. If I call it in, could I unexpectedly find myself in a two-way rifle range?
I can tell you from some of the stories that I heard, and I want to be careful how much I say and what I say. There was a situation where the FBI did get a call and they had the investigator continue working the case, and they were able to then identify the actual foreign intelligence spy. And then that person obviously gets, for lack of a better word, removed from the United States. They are looking to do multiple things. The main thing is they want to harass the target. They want to blackmail the target that they're going to kill the target's family back in the homeland, or they're going to actually kill the dissident that they found in the U.S. So yeah, they are dangerous. So you have to be careful what you're dealing with.
Okay. Vicky, I love your questions and your comments. Vicky Seidel's on here. Another legend in the profession, love her. She said she had cults do similar things on a smaller scale. That's interesting. Okay, question here. A PI who put the funds in his son's account, would it have been different if he had reported the money and where it came from?
It might have been. I think not knowing the case in full and knowing what the jury saw and heard leads to a little bit of suspicion, because the key to the case was, did he have knowledge that he was working for a foreign intelligence agency? The FBI feels that they were able to prove that he did, and they were able to prove that the money went to an account that would have normally not gone into that account in a normal business transaction. So might have been a lot of little things that added up to something big. So I don't know whether or not the money going into that account would have been the only reason.
Yeah, I think this is another very important topic to add into our tool belts. I know a lot of us already vet our clients to some degree, especially if you're locating people. You want to make sure that the person you're locating doesn't have a restraining order against your client, for instance, because you can't breach that as well on their behalf. So just add this topic to your knowledge archives, that this is now something that we need to be cognizant of. This is a real serious threat, not only to us individually, but our profession, the integrity of our profession. So we wanted to expand this to the greater PI community because one bad actor affects us all. And so it's important that you spread the word to others who were not able to attend this presentation. And once the link becomes available for the recording, we'll encourage you to share that. Are there any other questions?
Kelly, you did bring up a good point. Other than the Foreign Intelligence Agency potential client threat, be careful when you're doing missing persons lookups and somebody's, hey, can you find my cousin or my ex-girlfriend or whatever? You don't know if there's a restraining order against that person. So you really have to be careful how you handle locates. I know that NCISS had put out a statement with regards to locating individuals and not divulging the address of that target individual unless the target gave permission to do it. Something to think about. And Kelly, that might be something that NCISS might bring back to the forefront to make sure that PIs don't do something that could be embarrassing to the profession.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm just going to give another quick glance here. A lot of comments, a lot of appreciation for your time, Jimmie, and this wonderful information that you're sharing with us. Everybody is saying great presentation.
We still have a few minutes left on the time slot. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I might be able to help you while you have me here?
It's true. We have Jimmie Mesis here. This is such a treat. This is the opportunity to ask your questions. Yes, the slides will be available. Well, I don't know this. Jimmie, are your slides going to be available after this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be part of the recorded presentation.
Yes.
Thank you for the reminder. When in doubt, don't take the case. And yeah, okay, well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take back the screen for a minute because I want to share with you some additional information. I wanted to give a shout out to our generous sponsors that help make all the activities with NCISS possible. We're all volunteers here and we're just doing it for the greater good of our profession. And NCISS encourages you to go ahead and share, reach out to these sponsors, participate in what they're offering, and support them. I'm also going to put up this here. This is information on how you can join NCISS and get involved. And I realize I don't have the discount code here. I might rely on Ed Ajab, our current president, to help me pull that code out so that we can give you that special discount code, which if you are not a member and you join today after this presentation, we will waive the application fee for you on that. I believe it's APP 25. I'll check on that right now.
Yep, that's right. It'll be app 25, so APP 25. So if you we wanted to extend it as a thanks to anyone who's not already a member to if you are interested, we wanted to extend that promo code to you to waive your application fee. So you can sign up right on our website and submit your application there. And once your application is approved, you'll receive a approval email, and that's when you can enter in the promo code before you submit payment there. So that promo code again is APP25, and I'll type that in the chat as well.
Excellent, thank you. Right, so if you want to join, it's nciss.org. Join NCISS, and we hope that you will consider being a part of what we're doing. Let's see.
I have a question
Yes.
for Jimmie. I had posted it earlier, but I guess I don't know if it went through, but is there language in our retainer agreements that we could insert that would give us some modicum of protection from this type of situation?
You know, the retainer agreement that I put together years ago, 6 pages, doesn't mention anything about foreign intelligence agents. And even if it did, I don't think it would protect you in any way, shape, or form.
Okay,
Part of the problem would be the name of the person who signed a retainer agreement might not even be a real person. I mean, it might be a fake name. In addition to that, really, what could you say in the retainer agreement? I certify that I'm not a foreign spy. I certify that I'm not going to use this information to harm anyone. Now, that is a clause that's in my retainer agreement, that you will not use the information provided to cause harm to someone, things like that. That's actually in there. But I don't think we could go into the, foreign intelligence entity clause. I don't think it would do you any good.
thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Wait, are there any more questions here? Well, Jimmie, thank you so much for sharing your expertise on this very important topic and for joining us today. And it's such a treat to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with everybody. And I hope everybody takes heed to what I mentioned, to what I said. And when in doubt, make a phone call, cover your butt. It's free.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.